Hi, welcome to Daily Bible Study. We are in Numbers 22 through 24. I want to start it a little different today than I normally do. Normally we jump right into Numbers or whatever text we are going through, but today I'm going to start with a question. And that is God for us? Now, you might be saying, no, he definitely isn't. Or you might be inclined to look around your life and see the goodness of God, and you really have to admit that he has been good to us. Not only as a specific group of people, whether it's those who profess faith in him or just creation in general. He's a good God and he's a good creator. Now, what does that mean in regard to our text today? Again, our chapters were Numbers 22, 23, and 24. So I want to start with reading Romans 8:31, which will help illustrate this text today for us. Romans 8:31 goes on to say, what then shall we say about these things? Now, what are the things that are being said? Well, if you read further on in that chapter, it talks about God sovereignly working things out, right? And then he continues on after this chapter, after this verse. But he says, if God is for us, who can be against us? Now, if you jump over to Numbers 22, you see there's really a showdown between Balak and this prophet Balaam that comes on the scene that we don't really know much about, other than from some of the historical writings that he was definitely a prominent person in this moment, right? So he gives these oracles that Balaam has contracted him to speak against Israel, because Israel is beginning to move into the plains of Moab, where they will spend Leviticus and Deuteronomy and really the bulk of this time together around, right? They're getting ready to get into the promised land, right? This is just across from the Jordan. So they're in these plains of Moab, and Balak is confused because he's afraid of these people groups that are coming, that are going to take everything from him. So he has this prophet speak these four oracles, and we don't really get any inclination that before this that Balaam was exclusively a prophet to the Lord. It's just a term that was used by somebody who probably was more spiritual and was connected to those atmospheres. The crazy thing about it is by the end of these four oracles, Balaam is prophesying for Israel, and he has this entire conversion experience, and it causes both he and Balak to kind of just walk away and let God do what he's going to do. And that's fascinating to me, because I think that encourages believers with this notion that all throughout God's history with his people, right, particularly Israel, and then in the new covenant perspective, those who profess faith in him, we can hold on to this truth that even if the enemy sets itself up against us to try and attack us, that God is faithful to finish the work that he started. He had promised that he was going to bring them into the promised land, and so no one was going to stop that. The same thing is true for us as new covenant believers. And so why do I read Romans 8:31, or why do we try to answer this question, is God for us? Well, I think the Bible makes it clear that God is for his people. John 1:12 says that to those that believed in him, that professed their faith in him, he gave them the privilege to be called the children of God. And so today, if you aren't sure that God is for you, you have to know that God is for you. John 3:16 says that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. He sent Jesus so that you and I could have redemption, that we could be restored to a relationship with him. Let's not squander that today by believing lies that he isn't for us. He is for us, not only as those who profess faith in him, but he is for creation. And there's an opportunity for us to turn to him today, because if he is, knowing that he is for us, it gives us confidence to say, no matter what happens, no matter what the enemy tries to do, he cannot prevail. He can't prevail in our lives. They may have temporary moments of victory, but they cannot prevail. And that's what Balak learned, and it got to the point where he just walked away. Just ceased to continue, right? So if you just keep focusing on the Lord and keep trusting him, even in times when you don't, God's faithful to fulfill his purposes. And so I hope that encourages you today. We love you guys. We look forward to seeing you throughout this week for daily Bible studies. Take care. See ya.